Again, welcome to Jack's Slayter Notes. Like, share, and subscribe for any sorts of competitive exams and all that. And so, today we are going to do child development and pedagogy for stated examination. That question paper that already, you know, February 7th and 8th, you already taken. So, we are going to analyze them and see the answer. So, we did paper 1 of February 7, February 8 and March 1, that was re-exam. Now today we are going to do paper 2 of February 7th 2026 examination and of the child development and pedagogy section, 30 question, 30 marks. Okay, let's go. 1. Read the following statements. Assertion: the purpose of administering intelligence tests and extended observation should be to compare child in specific domains and abilities. Now that is wrong. There is no examination needed, and that is completely wrong to compare child. So assertion is false. Reason: intelligence is an innate ability and cannot be nurtured. That is also false because intelligence can be nurtured. It's not an innate thing. Yeah, some portion of it is innate, but environment and nurturing plays a big role in it. So the answer should be both A and R are false. Question number 2. A teacher who consciously takes example of scientists of all gender in her middle school classroom is trying to reinforce gender discrimination, enable gender identity, construct gender constancy, or break gender stereotypes. So when she does, a teacher, not her work, when her middle school. So yes, a teacher, when she does take names as an examples of scientists from all gender, that means she is trying to break gender stereotypes. So the answer would be 4, break gender stereotypes. Question number 4. Read the following statement. Assertion: all girls are hardworking and sincere while boys are intelligent and dominating. Because to okay, when you do assertion and reason, you just need to enter because at the middle. So all girls are hardworking and sincere while boys are intelligent and dominating, because two distinctive biological brains produce all difference in physical and cognitive skills as well as personalities and temperament in girls and boys. That is not really correct. So answer should be both A and R are false. Yes. Question number 4. Individual differences in learning preferences of students should be seen as cognitive abnormality among some children. Not really. Individual difference is a normal depiction of diversity. So the answer is 3. Normal depiction of diversity. There has to be differences among individuality. Question number 5. The kind of assessment in which students' scores are compared with the average performance of other students is called format reference. Now it's called norm reference. We are going to do elaborate definition of this, what is called norm reference, what is called criteria reference, and yes. Question number 6. Which of the following statement about classroom assessment are correct? Option 1. Assessment should influence the students' cognitive process while they study. Sure, why not? Assessment should serve as a learning experience in themselves, of course. Assessment should create a fear and stress. No, you should not and never create fear and stress among students. So that is wrong. First 1 and 2 is correct, but as 4 is assessment should be standardized. No, assessment should not be standardized. Anything could be an assessment. So answer is 1 and 2. Question number 7. Which of the following question would promote higher order critical and analytical thinking skill among students? Identify the nouns mentioned in a specific newspaper article. That you can do from knowledge. Read the newspaper articles and make a list of new words. Sure, you can do that doesn't really need a high order thinking skill. Read the newspaper article and think of a suitable title. That also doesn't really need high order critical and analytical thinking skill. Identify the assumption underlying two newspaper articles depicting the same event. So that's what's the answer, because it is a tough one. Identify the assumption underlying two newspaper articles depicting the same event. That needs high order thinking critical skill. because you are assuming something and you are comparing something. Read the following statement. Students with poor writing abilities are often stereotyped by their teacher as intellectually disabled. The reason is teachers tend to have implicit bias and hold assumptions about students. Of course, that is students' learning behavior that can affect student growth. Of course, that is true. Some there are, their teachers sometimes assume and stereotype student as intellectually disabled when they have poor handwriting, and that do affect on student their growth. They affect them. So yes, both A and R is true. R true and R is the reason is the correct explanation of A axis. Question number 9. Which of the following is not a way to promote diversity in the classroom? Encouraging students to express their unique identities and culture. Of course, that is a way to promote. So the answer question asks for not a way. Adapting behavior based on stereotyping students according to their background and culture. Maybe providing opportunities for students to interact with individuals from different backgrounds. That is a way. Incorporating a variety of personal experience in the curriculum. That is also correct. So the answer should be 2. Adapting behavior based on stereotyping students according to their background and culture. That's not really a good way to promote individual inclusion. And which of question number 10, which of the following is the correct match of learning disability and challenge caused by dysgraphia impacts fine motor skill and spelling? Not dyslexia. Dyslexia says impact ability to learn numbers, that discuss calculia. Dyspraxia impacts ability to see, hear and talk properly. Dyscalculia impacts ability to read. Now that is dyslexia. So the answer is dysgraphia. Number 1. This is the only correct option here. Dysgraphia impacts fine motor and spelling, fine motor skills and spelling. Yes. Question number 11. Student struggling with autism shows ease at eye contact during conversation. Not really, that's not correct. Familiar and predictable. Yes, that is correct. They are really ease at familiar and predictable routines. Unpredictable things are hard from them. Rapid transition between activities. Not really, that's tough for them. Communication with strangers, that's also. So the answer is familiar and predictable routines. Question number 12. Which of the following statement is not correct about the gifted children? Number 1. Not correct. Say you have to read the question carefully. Children can be gifted in more than one kind of intelligence. That is correct. Gifted children are born with extraordinary abilities and potential that need to be nurtured. Maybe, why not? Gifted children have lower sense of curiosity and poor imagination skill. Not really. That is not so. That is the correct one. Children can be gifted at different level and some can have some kind of disability also. That is also true. So the gifted children have lower sense of curiosity and poor imagination, like we said. Question number 13. Error analysis by students hinders metacognitive skills of students. That is false, because error analysis by students actually contribute to the metacognitive skill of students. So error analysis by student is a futile activity in process of learning. Nope. Support students in retaining their learning. That is correct. Creates further gaps. No, it doesn't create further. So the answer should be support students in retaining their learning. Question number 14. Which of the following statement is correct regarding declarative knowledge and procedural knowledge? Declarative knowledge is also known as analytical knowledge. Procedural knowledge is generally process oriented in nature. Procedural knowledge tells the factual knowledge about something. Well, correct about procedural knowledge and declarative knowledge, I think procedural knowledge is generally process oriented in nature. So that is the correct answer. Generally process oriented in nature. Contents, question number 15. Contents which require an extension or modification of existing cognitive structure take dash time for learning and are retained for dash duration. So contents that require an extension or modification of existing cognitive structures. So when there is already a cognitive structures appears and then you want the new content, it needs extension and modification. So when you do modify it takes actually long time, but they are retained for a long duration too. So which answer says long and long? Answer for long and long. Question number 16. Read the following statement assertions. Assertion. Teachers should encourage children to focus on questions such as what is my learning goal and what do I need to do to get there. Yes, that assertion is 100% correct. A teacher should encourage students to think like that. And the reason says when students understand how to self-assess their work performance, they can use this understanding to help themselves learning and progress. That is also correct. And reason is the correct explanation of A. So assertion. So the answer is for both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Question number 17. In guided discovery approach of learning, no prior planning or previous knowledge is required. I think it requires them. Opportunities are provided to learn and to construct knowledge for themselves. That is the correct answer. Teacher act as a dictator, not really. Teacher never act. Should learner are left on their own without any kind of, not really. So the answer is true. Opportunities are provided to the learner to construct knowledge for themselves. That is the whole point of constructivist approach of learning. Question number 18. Which of the following strategies is not effective while developing conceptual understanding in children? Option 1. Presenting non-example to show what the concept is not. Not really. Asking student to generate their own example. Not effective while developing conceptual understanding. So the question asks not effective. So which one is not effective? Asking student to memorize the definition as it is. So that is the most non-effective. So the answer should be 3. Asking student to memorize the definition as it is. Question number 19. An active middle school classroom should be found on the theoretical principles of. An active middle school classroom should be founded on the theoretical principle of, yes, psychodynamism or social constructivism. Answer should be active middle school. Psychodynamism, it should be a bit mature. So social constructivism should be the answer. So yes, social constructivism. Question number 20. Hit the following statement. Assertion. Empathy depends on the ability to understand that others have feelings and to gauge their feelings. Yes, that is correct. Emotion and cognition are not related to each other. Not really. Emotion and cognition are 100% related to each other. So A is true, but R is false. A is true, R is false. Question number 21. A middle school teacher can enable student become strategic self-motivated learners by providing varied form of reinforcement for every task completed. You don't really need to, okay, dictating well prepared answer to question in the textbook, stressing upon objective, no, you should never stress. So a middle school teacher can enable student become strategic self-motivated learners by encouraging students to develop their metacognitive knowledge and skill. That is the most appropriate answer. So answer should be 4. Encouraging students to develop their metacognitive knowledge and skills. Question number 22. Which of the following exemplifies intrinsic motivation? So intrinsic motivation is something that you do for your own pleasure and your own betterment. That is mastery goal. So intrinsic motivation is mastery goal. Extrinsic motivation should be performance goal. So motivation driven by personal interest or enjoyment of the task. So there you have your answer. Motivation driven by competition with other, that is extrinsic. Motivation driven by gaining the appreciation of other, that is extrinsic. Motivation driven by external reward, that is extrinsic. So if question differs there and ask you which of this is not extrinsic, so the answer is 1. And which of this exemplifies as intrinsic motivation? There you go, answer 1. Motivation driven by personal interest or enjoyment of the task. Question number 23. Which debate is highlighted in the following question? Does any individual's biologically determined sex bring with all the characteristics that define one's socially constructed gender? Continuous and discontinuous view of development, stable unstable view of development, entity, I think is nature versus nurture influence on development. You see, nature is sex, you can be born with anything, and then the gender socially construct. But socially, if the gender is given, there are many can raise a child, that is a daughter like boy, so the nature nurture influence on development, that is question number 24. A major developmental task during dash is the search for identity, personal and sexual and occupational. That is obviously adolescence is all about sexual growth, personal deformity and the search for identity, where people lost themselves, like it's the time of stress and storm and stress and storm. Adolescence, yes. Question number 25. Read the following statement assertion. Children learn values and norms of the society in overt as well as covert ways. Okay, socialization is a simple process of passing on custom and ritual of the society. Okay, so the one is true. Children do learn values and norms of the society in overt and as well as covert ways, in many different ways. But socialization is not a simple process, it is a complex process. All right, so the A is true but the R is false. Yes. Question number 26. As per Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development, which of the following abilities distinguishes formal operational thinking from concrete operational thinking? Alright, formal operation is all about abstract logic, right? Where people start to think of imaginary things that and with evaluated. So abstract logic is the correct answer. Question number 27. A significant critique of Jean Piaget is that he failed to adequately consider the influence of dash on development. What did Jean Piaget adequately failed? His experience, activity and maturation. He did not many talk about culture, I think, but there should be another. Yes, answer is culture. Yes, he really neglected a bit in this field. Question number 28. Which of the following is a correctly matched pair? Good boy, good girl orientation, greatest good for greater numbers. Law and order orientation, upholding principle of social justice for humanity. Social contract orientation, consideration of perception of other, punishment and obedience orientation, avoidance of bad and consequences. So the question asks for which one is correctly paired. So good boy, good girl has to be with avoidance of bad consequences. Punishment and obedience is upholding principle. Law and order, social contract orientation, greatest good. So which one is the correct one? So this is the fourth stage of conventional, non-conventional, which elaborate into 8 stage. We are going to elaborately discuss on that. So here the correct one is for punishment and obedience orientation is avoidance of bad consequences, and the social construct orientation is should go with upholding greatest good, or law and order should be upholding. Okay, 2 is also I think correct, but correctly matched veritas. Punishment and obedience orientation, avoidance. Yes, avoidance of bad consequences. Humanity and justice should be the fourth and final one, that is universal. Alright, we'll do the elaborate in the later videos. There's some complications there. I assume it happens to all. There's complications there for many because sometimes the question has a differences from the thing that we already talk about. Question number 29. Jean Piaget and Lev Vygotsky are similar in their belief that language influences and determines thoughts. Yes, language does influence and determine thoughts, but Lev Vygotsky also says thoughts influences language. So there's some reciprocal thinking going on there. Culture has a profound effect on learning, sure, but they don't really talk about culture, at least one of them. Development of children takes place in a stage-like progression. Yes, that is true. Children are involved in the process of meaning making. So the more correct one is children are involved in the process of meaning making. There are two, both John Piaget and Lev Vygotsky have similar feelings on that children are involved in the process of meaning making. So that is the correct one. Question number 30. Lev Vygotsky proposed that children's thinking is quantitatively different from adults. I think the answer is qualitatively, because the thinking of children's, I guess qualitatively and quantitatively both are different, because the quality of thinking and the quantity, the way the children thinks are totally different. Children are born arts, right, and needs to teach them social behavior. Children have a lot of potential which include tasks they can do with other support. So lab biography proposing thinking, the third one is about scaffolding. So it happens to be third, because Lev Vygotsky talk about scaffolding, and scaffolding and children have a lot of potential which include tasks they can do with other support. So here you get the answer. Anyway, thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe to the channel Jack's Later Notes. So we did the study hard works smart, and before we go, we did paper 1 of February 7, 8 and March 11, March 1, March 1st month, what am I saying, March 1st, March 1st, what was that, examination of Ctet that happened. March 1st was re-exam. So we already did paper 1 of the 3 classes. Now we are doing paper 2 of the 3 classes, 7, 8 and 7, 8 February and March 1st. So we are doing only CDP section. So there are going to be 6 videos, and yes, you can check them out. Ultimately, it's formidable bringing up ground, or you can say from a start point you could say what sort of questions come. It's not really tough, but you need practice. Without practice, a lot of them you will know the answer, but you will mistake, because when you know too much, you have a way of misconcepting and misconceptioning things. So anyway, so that's that. We are going to do 6 of the 30 MCQ of CDP. And thank you, goodbye, and have a nice day.